Hello and happy Halloween to the followers of the One Stop Co-op Shop. Today we're going to do a playthrough of London Dread. Let me show you the cover of this. It is an awesome looking game. Here's a cover. Look at that, by Gray Fox Games. And this game it's got a real-time aspect and a playthrough section. So what you'll do is there's kind of two main phases. One phase is going to be a 12 minutes of you programming all your movements. Everyone's going to be doing that as quickly as they can. And I'm going to be honest, when I do that today with my 4 characters here, it's going to be pretty bad because normally you have 4 people's minds going and you can try and do all of that. And I'm just going to try it. They don't actually even have a one-player game for this. It's set for 2 to 4 players, and they actually do adjust how the cards are set up with 2 and 3 players, and I'll show you that. But I think the game is the best with 4 players because it seems like everything is set up the way it should be with 4 players. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play it as a 4-player playthrough, and I will either give myself more time than the 12 minutes that for the real-time aspect to do all the programming, or we'll just take it as it comes and I'll lose horribly, but at least you can see how the game is played. The game is a little more story-driven, so if you do not like spoilers, you are going to hear a bit of the story of this game. So it comes with 4 scenarios. This is the first one, called The Letter. So, and here, let me show you. You actually do use an app for this. You don't have to, but you can. Oh, you can't see it very well. Let's see if I can get that angle right. So there's The Letter, Red Sky, Caped Killer, and London Dread. So we're going to do The Letter, the first one. It's also the easiest and the quickest one, but I'm doing that one purely because I don't want to spoil the rest of the story. Heck, I've only played this first one. I've played it 3 times, once on my own and twice with people. And I have to say I've won once. And when I played it on my own, I didn't even use the real-time aspect, but because I did all the programming outside of real-time, just because that was when I was trying to figure out the game, and that's the only one I won. So the 12 minutes real-time part of the game really makes it fun and exciting, especially with more people. But I still want to show it to you. But so first, I'm going to explain all these components. So normally what I do with a playthrough, I mean, I just start playing it, and then you kind of learn as you go. But this game has a bit of setup, and I kind of want to explain it all. So in this first video, I'm going to show you how to set up that first game. Then the next video, I'll do the real-time portion. Then the third video, I will do the actual, do the actual movements of your programming. So to start off, let's start with these boards. So we have a clock for each person, and these clocks are fantastic. So let me bring these up so you can see it. There you go. So what you're going to do during the 12-minute phase is you're going to be placing markers on here for each 2 hours of the day. So you have 1 full day to solve this case. And you start at 6 a.m. and end at 4 a.m. the next day. And you've got morning, afternoon, and evening. And you can also see north, south, east, west. And why that matters is because of on the board. But we'll go to there in a second. So if you look at these icons or these tokens right here, what you're going to be doing is during that real-time phase, you're going to be grabbing these and placing them. Okay, I want to go to section 6. Oh, I want to move west, so I will put this way because west is that way, according to the board. And so that's what you're going to be doing during the real time is you're going to be programming where you're going. Now, on the board itself, I'm just going to move these down so you can see. There is a north, south, east, and west, okay? And so your guy is going to start here in the west. Let's say I wanted to go north. I'm going to place this token facing upwards so that now I'm in the northern streets. Now, when I'm in the northern streets, if I want to go to any one of these 6 sections, I will grab one of the 6 numbers that I have here. So let's say I wanted to go to 4. I'll grab 4, and that's where I'll go then, okay? Then after that, I have to go back to the streets, but let's say my next location I want to go is East 6. Well, so first I'll grab one of these, and I'll face it towards east, so I go to the east streets, and then I'll grab my number 6, and now I'm going to east 6 here, okay? So that's how you're going to be programming. But as you see, you only have these tokens you're available to you. And just so you know, you have 2 of each number. So I have them set up for ease of when I'm going to be playing it real time as quickly as I can, where one is face up and one is face down. So on one side of the token is a number, on the other side is an arrow, and that arrow can face any way, north, south, east, or west. Now, if ever you want to go to one location more than 2 times, because you only have 2 of those, everybody has available to them the additional tokens right here, but there are only 6 of them, so 1 of each number. So you have to be careful about using them, because once you use them, no one else can. And look at this. When I grab one, you see that skull? Well, that skull increases dread, and that dread tracker is all what you're trying to prevent. You're trying to prevent as much dread as possible. The more dread you have, the harder the end game is. So that's the clock, okay? So that's what we're going to be using for the real time. Now, for each person, let me show you one individual. So this is Basil Sterling, the aristocrat. He comes with 3 innate abilities. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't know what all of those stand for. Owl, dove, what is that? A dove, I don't know, some sort of bird, and then a random. And so what you're going to be doing during and throughout the game is you're going to be using your characteristics here to try and complete and get rid of dread spots that are on the board, okay? But whenever you go to any location, you'll always bring these 3 icons. The question mark is wild, so it can be anything. So the nice thing about that wild being anything is you always bring 1 to the table, which is nice. Also on here you have your virtue ability. Everyone gets 1 virtue token, and you can use your virtue and get whatever it says. So you get 2 additional birds. Now, personality. This is where this game gets fun, okay? So whenever you get to a specific point in the story, specific plot points in the story, you will be actually using your personality deck, which I'll show you in a second, and flipping 1 card from a 6-card personality deck. Basically, think of it like a D6, okay? And each one is going to have these additional items that they'll give you for additional... so you're going to bring, instead of just 1 owl, 2 owls and 2 birds, or a bird and a lion, okay? And what that deck looks like is these, okay? So what you'll do is each time you get to one of those plot parts of the story, and this will be all during the story portion, not the real-time portion, so not when you're programming, you'll draw a random one of these. And so what I got for him is Oxford graduate. Thinking was not all I learned at Oxford. And so I get these 2 additional icons plus my 3 basic attributes I always bring to the table. Okay? I don't know why this doesn't focus. There we go. So, and why that matters is because when you're trying to go to those specific plot points, unlike when you're taking care of dread, where there is no luck, all of the plot point locations, there's an element of luck. And I'll talk about that as we get there. The other thing each player has, and they start with, is 1 item. Items are pretty cool in this game. Okay, let's see if I can get it to focus. Here we go. So an item gives you a one-time use ability. Not a one-time, but it's a use ability that after you use it, you tap it. And then when you tap it, you basically cannot use it for the rest of that round. But then you'll be able to refresh it during the next round. Okay, that's your one-time use. You also have a deplete ability. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys. It's not focusing. That deplete ability means I would actually discard this item in total, but then I get its benefit. So for this one, I'm going to keep it. Let's see, where does it focus? Well, I can't get it to focus. What this deplete ability says is roll 4 action dice. For each success, gain 1 virtue token. Okay, so that's kind of nice. But you only get that ability 1 time, and then you discard that item. Versus if I do just use that item, I'll tap it, but then I can untap it again later and use it in further rounds. Okay? So for each person, they'll have their board for programming. You all start out with one virtue token, which is that ability. You have your 12 action tokens and one item. Okay? So what you'll do is you'll pick out your 4 people, you'll get them set up, pull out their personality decks each. Now the personality decks will only be used during the story phase, not during the real-time programming phase. But it's still good to have them out so that you have them there. Okay? So then what you're going to do is you're going to come to the board, you're going to open it up and ooh and ah how it looks, because I think this board looks awesome. I mean, I know it looks simple, but as we place cards on here, you're going to see it just blossom. It actually reminds me of Conquest of Planet Earth, where as you're moving through that game, more cards get flipped up and the board starts coming alive. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to pick your story. So I picked the first story, and what I have first is our antagonist. Our antagonist for this is a pagan ritual. And where that's going to go is right up here on top of the board, okay? That's only going to come into play during the end game. And I'm not going to explain the end game now. I'm going to explain setting this up, then we'll play through the real time, then we'll do the story portion, and then we'll do the end game. Then the other thing you're going to grab are these 6 challenge cards. So each story will have 6 challenge cards. These challenge cards will only be used for the end game. So what you'll do is you'll just take them and set them aside. Actually, they tell you to put them up here. I apologize. You'll put them right up here just for later. You're not going to use it, but they'll be there for now. Then you'll grab your specific plot cards. So all other stories except for the first one, for the letter, will actually have 2 chapters worth of story, okay? The first one only has 1 chapter. So I grab my single chapter cards, and they'll be alphabetical A, B, C, D, E, and I will place these cards on top of the challenge deck, like so. However, I'm going to sneak in between there this end game card just to remind myself that after we have completed E, we're now moving on to the end game phase. So I'll place that there. Okay? Now I'm going to show you something about the differences between a 2 and 3 player versus a 4 player game. And that is these allies. So during a 2 or 3 player game, you will use these ally cards, and these ally cards will be placed on the board with the dread cards that we're going to be placing there as well, okay? And what they do is they give you additional icons to use because you just don't have as many resources. You only have 2 people or 3 people instead of 4. And based on the amount of people that are playing, you'll put a certain amount of these out, okay? You can also, with a 2-player game, each control 2 characters, or a 3-player game, have 1 person control 2. They do not suggest to do 1 player controlling 4. Like I said, this is going to be crazy, but I really want to show you this game because I really love it. I think it's fun, and I'm more just showing you how to play than you can find it on your own and just have a great time. But play it with other people. It is a co-op game, after all. Okay, so if you're playing with 4, or you choose to play with 2 or 3, and you don't want to use the allies, because in my opinion, the allies aren't as cool as using all dread cards. Because, and I'll get to that in a second, but if you're not going to use them, just set them aside. So then let's talk about the dread cards. These cards are cool. So what you're going to be doing with these dread cards, okay, first of all, let's just grab one. Okay. These dread cards will have a name. Let's see if I can get it to focus. Blood in the Gutter. Ooh. What it will have is at the top left-hand corner, it's going to have the number that you need to defeat that card. Now, to defeat that Blood in the Gutter, you need to have 4 of these different 3 icons. So you can have any combination of those icons to get 4. You don't need all of those icons. You could have 3 snakes and 1 lion. That would work for 4. You could have 2 guns, two lions, and no snakes. That would work. You could have 1 of each of these and a wild. That would be 4. Okay. But what you're doing is you're trying to complete or investigate these dread areas on the board, okay? And if you don't, any that are flipped face up that you have not taken care of, you are going to have to increase dread by the amount of skulls that are here. So what will happen is when we set up the game, we will have cards on the board like so, okay? When they are face down, every face down card is worth 2 dread, meaning that at the end of the story, any face down cards, we're going to have to increase dread by 2 for every face down card. However, if I flip this card up, okay, Blood in the Gutter, now it's actually worth 4 dread. But I can actually go and investigate it. So I could bring my guy here, and if I can, with my icons that are available to me, plus the items, plus any other way to increase the amount of icons that I have, if I can get a total of 4, I can actually complete this specific dread card, and it goes into my investigation deck, and we'll get to why that's helpful in a bit. First of all, it's helpful though because I'm now no longer going to take that 4 dread, but second of all, it goes into my investigation deck, and my investigation deck is amazing. Your investigation deck is used to help you either defeat dread cards or it'll help you at the end game, okay? So these dread cards, what we're going to do to set up this board, as you can see, this board has a total of 6 spots in each north, south, east, and west. So 6 times 4 is 24. So we have 24 locations that we're going to cover with dread cards. However, we're also, because there are story cards A through E, for each one of those, we're going to use a plot card. And one of those plot cards are going to be down here. And we're going to need to find those 5 plot cards, which essentially move the story forward during the game. Okay? So, how they suggest to do this, and I like how they suggest to do this, to set up the board. First, I'm going to move these because we'll talk about these in a second. Is, first thing, we'll grab our plot cards. We will put 1 face down, or a total of 4 of them face down. So now I need 20 more cards to make the 4, to be able to fill the 4 different sections. And what I'm going to do is grab all my dread cards. Now, because we're on the first chapter of this story, all the dread cards are level 1. You can't see that because it's not focusing. There's a level 1 icon right there. If I could just get it to focus. There we go, level 1. See that bottom left? If you're doing a story that has 2 chapters, that second chapter, you'll get ones that have a number 2 on them. But we're only doing the first story, which only uses 1 level dread. So I'm now going to count out a total of 19 of these, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. All right, so I have 19 level 1 dread cards. I am now going to grab that additional 5th plot card, and why I have that is because there are a total of 5 plot points that we have to get through, okay? So I have now placed that with all of my other dread cards in here. Give them a little shuffle, 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 and then break them out between the 4. 3, 4, 5, and apparently I'm terrible at math. Oh yeah, 5 plus the 1 that's there, so 6. I'm actually good at math, I just don't know it. So now we have the 4, so here's north, here's south, here's west, and here's east. So we'll shuffle them up, give them a good little shuffle, and randomly place them on the board, like so. Okay? And we'll do the same thing here with the north. So we'll go 1, 3, 6, 5, 4, 2. And then we'll do the same thing with west over here, if I can pick the cards up. I have these sleeved. You definitely don't need to have them sleeved. They're actually very good cards. But when you are quickly trying to flip cards, I was seeing people tearing up those cards pretty quick. So I decided to sleeve them because I want this game to last. Even though I know the story, each time you play it, it's going to be very different. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now look at that. And this board already looks completely different, right? You've got a lot more color. And then what you're going to be doing during the real-time game portion of the game, you're going to be flipping these up, trying to find those 5 plot point cards. Each time you find one of those plot point cards, you're going to immediately grab the first one that you find, you'll put the A card on there. Then the second one you find, you'll put the B card, C, D, E, and you'll get all of those out. And then what you're going to try and do is investigate all of those within the 24 hours that you have, or I guess it's really 12 because everything takes at least 2 hours, with your 4 characters, okay? And now I realized I didn't show you these cards. So let me show you these really quick. So the story cards, how they're going to work is they're going to really bring the story alive, okay? The other dread cards, as you saw, are going to be random. So they're not really going to fit specifically to the story. But just think of it as you're going through and you're finding these random locations, but then you go to these specific plot points and something happens within the story. So on these cards, you're going to see a dread amount here. 1, 2, 3, 4. That dread amount is is something that you don't, if you leave these uninvestigated, you're going to have that amount of dread. So once again, you don't want to leave these uninvestigated. Here, this icon is telling you when you can begin to investigate it. So Reynard's residence, you can begin to investigate it right away because it's the morning card. It's the first one. However, if you don't investigate it in the morning, which on the clock you can see is the first 4, 6 a.m. to noon, you will automatically increase dread by 4 because it took you too long to go and investigate it. Okay? Then you're going to see the icons, just like the other ones, that you need in order to defeat this card. So you've got an owl and a lion. However, unlike the other cards, every icon that you bring is going to give you a single die, 1 die. So if I bring 2 icons to this, I'll have 2 dice. And then I'm going to roll those dice, and based on what I roll and what anybody else who investigates this card with me rolls, you will have 1, 2, or 3 happen to you. So if I roll 1 or less successes, all present become unhinged. If I roll 2 successes, you're in the clear. And if I roll 3 or plus for it, I actually gain a random item. And then on the back side is a little bit of story. So when you're in the story mode, then you'll read through that. Now you might be going, unhinged? What's unhinged? Well, unhinged is the way that you can get hurt in this game. There's only 2 ways you can get hurt, either unhinged, which is mentally, or injury, which is physical, injured. Now, they don't do anything, these cards, other than if you get a second one during the story phase, you'll automatically increase dread by 5, okay? But during the end game, if you ever get a second one of it, so if I'm already unhinged once and I get a second unhinged, I die. I'm done. Done. So you got to be careful with being unhinged or injured, okay? All right. So then the next thing to do is to set up the investigation deck. So how that works, to start out, you start out with 3 cards. And they come from what we call the confidence deck, okay? Look at how confident I am. There's tons of confidence in here. Now, these confidence cards are going to have 4 icons on them, okay? And what you're going to use them for are additional icons during the game, whenever you want to draw from the investigation deck. So let's say I had these 3 in the investigation deck, and I'm trying to complete one of those dread cards, and I need an additional dove. I can pick this card. You draw from random from the investigation deck, but if I pick this up, I now have a dove to be able to complete that dread card. However, then once I've used that card, it's discarded and doesn't get put back in the investigation deck. So that investigation deck is a great asset in order to help complete dread cards or plot cards. But this investigation deck is incredibly important in the end game. And I'm not going to explain that now, but just know that the more cards you have there, the better. And how you're going to add cards is by completing dread cards that are out. So like I was telling you before, when you had a dread card flip up, if it has, you need to have 3 lions or 3 snakes, and you get that enough, you have enough icons to actually fully investigate that card. You then take that card and put it in the investigation deck. And the icons on there then can be used later to either help with other dread cards or in the end game. So I'm going to shuffle up this confidence deck and place 3 random confidence cards in there. So that's can be helpful to us if we need to have more icons. We can take a chance and use those investigation cards. Now, there are certain cards that will let us draw items. If it says draw a random item, you'll draw from the top of the deck. If it says to draw an item, not a random item, you choose from one of the 3 that are here, or draw from the top of the deck. If you decide not to take any 3 of these and draw from the top of the deck, all 3 of these would go to the discard pile, and you put out 3 new ones. It's supposed to just kind of, so then that way you're not always drawing random items all the time. But, that first one, when it says plus, if I got more than 3 successes, 3 or more, I would gain a random item. Well, random item would come from the top of here. Okay? All right. I think there's only one more thing to explain, and that's over here. And what I have here are different tokens, and these are used during the programming phase. So during the programming, we're going to be quickly placing these numbers on here saying, okay, we've completed this dread card and that dread card. Well, how am I going to know? I might forget that we've already gone to one, right? Well, I can use these to say, okay, I have completely looked at this card, and I know that we're going to be able to investigate it completely. And I didn't use any items for it. I'm just going to be using our 3 icons that we have. Great. Plop this right there, and then that way I know that. So when I'm playing through the story mode, I remember that, oh yeah, I wasn't using an item here, or I wasn't using anything here. I just used the icons that I have. So that's what green spy glasses are for. The yellow spy glasses are used for if you are going to complete something by using an item. You can use a yellow spy glass. A red spyglass is saying that you're going to complete one of the dread cards by using the investigation deck. And then these white ones are going to be used specifically for your virtue token. So I completed it by using a virtue token. So you'll be using those so you know which cards you were able to get rid of. Whew, that's a lot. That was 27 minutes of just explaining how to set up the game. It is a little bit difficult to understand, so that's why I thought it'd be good to show you this, and then we can start playing through the game itself, okay? Other than that, I think that's it. After this, we will move on to actually playing the game. What we can do before that is we have this awesome app, and I might see if I can get this to play loud enough so you can hear the story. Let's do normal. And
Story 1. The Letter. Chapter 1. Unconventional Allies. It's early morning, but you've been awake for hours. This is not the time to sleep. Your cause is too important. From the open window, you take in the vast, busy city of London. Pedestrians and hansom cabs bustle through the cobbled streets, and the air smells of manure and freshly baked bread. The smog hangs thick in the east, and the sky is pregnant with rain. This morning, an anonymous letter was delivered to your doorstep. It contains only a short message. Visit Mr. Arthur Raynaud at 21 Curzon Street, Westminster. Time is of the essence. The name doesn't ring a bell, but the letter intrigues you enough to want to pay the man a visit. You pick up your coat and venture out into the streets of London.
all right, and so now you can see it starts the timer. I'm going to restart it and play the game shortly, but I just wanted you to hear the story. So, hope you're excited. I am. All right, See you soon. Bye.